Good afternoon. I will call this meeting to order at 4:00 p.m. Roll call, please, Nicole.
Alternate member David Valdivia. Here. Alternate member Dennis Salcedo. Here. Community Services Director Doug Story.
Here.
Youth Council member Christopher Valero. Member Annie Plone. Here. Member Diane Guerna.
Here.
Vice Chair Eric Bennett.
Here.
Chair Laura Schnur.
Here.
And Councilmember White.
Here.
We don't have any excused absences. It looks like everyone's here.
Everyone's here.
And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Nicole, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay. Any conflict of interest disclosures? Nothing? This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on the front of the agenda. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
I have no written requests. Benny, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
Okay. Item C is business items, approval of minutes. So I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No. Next item, I think it's the big one. Parks and Community Services Master Plan, final presentation of findings. And our staff report will be presented by Doug Story.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to get to this point. It feels like we have been going through quite the process to get to here and to be able to present our final findings to our Parks and Rec committee, which I don't even believe was in existence when we started this process. And so we've come a long way in so many different ways. This process, the Parks and Community Services Master Plan, started in 2023, where we teamed up with RHA, who's been serving as our consultants along with Next Best Practices. And they have been helping us go through the process of conducting numerous meetings and compiling some amazing information and data. And over the past several months, as we've been compiling all this data and all these facts, and we've begun to compile the final draft report, which is going to be coming through the process here. And tonight is a great opportunity for RHA to explain some of these findings and to share with our all of our committee members, allow for some feedback. There's going to be some times where we'll stop during this presentation. You probably all saw the packet. It's got a few slides, so we're going to go through them. We'll stop every once in a while. Feel free to give feedback. Feel free to ask questions, clarifications. If you don't understand something, this is where we want to know that. Things that we need to maybe dive a little deeper into or to clearly explain in the final report, we want to make sure we have that stuff. And so this is our first opportunity to compile those final findings. A lot of good information in the staff report, just showing some of the bullet points of what we're going to be talking about. I don't want to steal too much of Doug's thunder for this presentation, but I just wanted to, thank RHA for helping us compile all this, and then just to share how important I feel like the community feedback portion is of this whole process. When we started this process, one of the main indicators and one of the main deciding factors for us was how can we present information and how can we collect information from our community and actually use it and compile it into something that is useful. So many times we'll see maybe plans that nobody understands or nobody cares to read. We hope that that's not the case for this one. We really want to put something together that inspires the community, that answers questions for the community, that clarifies the direction of Parks and Recreation for the community. And I think we're starting to accomplish that in this process. So please chime in today. And if you have any clarifications, please raise your hand or get our attention and we'll answer them the best we can. So I'm going to turn this over to the other Doug. Now you have two Dougs in front of you tonight, but this is Doug Grove. So if you ask a question to Doug, you might clarify which one.
Great, thanks, Doug. There we go. Perfect, got it. All right, well, yeah, thanks for having me out tonight. Congratulations on your committee. And I didn't think we had one when we started. I couldn't remember if I just missed something, but no, okay, good. So I wasn't wrong. Yeah, glad to be here. We're excited to present on our findings tonight for the master plan. So we'll start out with one of the things we look at, obviously, when we first start these plans is the community profile and what does Beaumont have when it comes to parks and community. So the first thing we looked at was yeah, and this is something we get from Trust from Public Lands, NRPA. What percentage of residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park? So in Beaumont, that's 48%. You can see at the bottom, national median is 55%. Cities in this area have anywhere from by your percentage up to maybe 75%. So it just depends, and it's not a judgment on the city. It's just giving us an idea of where you're at and what do we need to do to make it better for everyone. We looked at some population data on where we're at in the 2010 census and 20 census, and then these are projections from Esri, which is based in Redlands. They're a database GIS company, and they're projecting out by 2038 that you'll be at around 71,000, 72,000. So basically just saying you're a growing community, which I think we all know that's happening. You've already grown quite a bit in the last 10 years, really quite a bit, and this is going to continue to do that. They also look at just see what kind of race we have across the board from now to 2038. So white alone is dropping down a little bit. We're picking up, two or more races, and so basically diversifying, which is what a lot of communities in California are doing. Looking at the Hispanic population, same thing. Right now, there's a little you'll see it's going to grow, just stays about even, gets a little closer to 50-50 in 2038. So just some things to think of as we're moving forward. Looking at the age projection, so really this city is staying about the same. Most cities age as you go on. You can see on these numbers that you really aren't. I mean, you're keeping about the same percentage in everything all the way across the board, which means you're going to have new people moving in the cities, in the residents you have now, and then in the new homes that are being built. So you're going to keep pretty even. You're going to gain a little bit, obviously, in the 75 plus, because people aren't going to be leaving. But this is a pretty unique. Most cities in the area, those numbers. The older numbers, the 20 and 25% are actually higher. So definitely unique for Beaumont. Income levels compared to the California and United States, per capita is on the left in gold, so lower than the state and federal and the national. Household income showing that maybe you have more than one person in each household generating income, so higher than the state and higher than national average. So we're seeing that a lot of communities around Southern California where you've got multiple generations or multiple people making money in the house, which gives a little more spending power. So it's good to know. It's called General Sports. It's a MPI. It's basically what the community residents in Beaumont, what would they participate in if they had the money? And this is based on a national study that they do around the country that looks at what spending habits are going on in the city. So it doesn't mean they participate in these things in the city. They could be anywhere in the area. But you can see the national average is the blue line there. Beaumont is 2 to 15% higher in all of those different sports, softball only being a little bit less. So that shows you a very active community in a lot of different types of sports. The fitness, in this case, everywhere from at 100% to 16% higher in all types of fitness. So again, very active community, looking to do programs and have places to exercise. So good, just tells us what kind of community we have. Some of these the communities will be less than the national average, so it gives us indication, but not Beaumont, you're doing great. So public input, real big issue for this whole plan. We had a community website that's still up, so you've probably seen that, bmtparks.com. We've had 800 plus participants in the website and the surveys. We sent out the statistically valid survey, which we'll get into here in a second, had 416 responses, which is great. They're looking for 350 to 400. Online community surveys, 364. We had 23 key leader and stakeholder interviews and focus groups at the beginning of the process and then at various times throughout. And then 2 public input meetings to gather the initial information. The idea is then to present these findings out to the community as well, like we're presenting to you tonight. So the statistically valid survey is the one that is really the key, and so we'll go through some slides on that. If you have questions, you can be free to ask them. They're mailed out randomly to the entire to the community. About 4,000 or 5,000 go out. The goal to get 400 surveys back based on your population. We got 416 back, which is a good number. Meets the goal, and this study is done so that if you were to do it every time, do it over and over again, you'd have a 95% level of confidence with about a 4.5% margin of error. So you get the same results over and over again. And it really is only residents of Beaumont. So nobody from Redlands gets it, no one from Banning gets it, it just goes to the residents. The same exact survey is then put online. So we had, you saw the online surveys, people could take those as well. So we have the results for both those. We're not presenting those tonight, but we can get them for you if you'd like to see them. So this chart just shows you the age demographic, so that when they do the survey, they make sure that the people that are responding to it matches the age breakdown you have on your city. So this just shows you that we're very diverse as far as the age groups that took the survey and their households that took them. This is a question, have your household visited the City of Beaumont parks and facilities during the past year? 81% said yes, national average is about 75, so you have a better than national average on that number. People love going to your parks and are definitely looking to use those. Parks rated excellent or good. You can see that you've got about 60% for Beaumont, national average is 79%. So what our goal here with the results of this plan is how can we take that number up? So get some of those fair numbers up into the good numbers and the good numbers into the excellent numbers. Please check the reasons why your household do not visit facilities more often. So this is pretty typical, lack of amenities, what you want to use, which is the goal of this plan, find out what people want to have and get those into the parks. Lack of shade, shade's a really big thing in every place we work in now as it's getting hotter. Lack of restrooms is also a big thing. And then the rest of the things are pretty small. So those are the 3 driving things, which you'll see later on how we will try to address some of that. Program participation, we look at all the programs. So this is great. Beaumont is at 43% of the residents participate in programs. The national average is 32, so you're doing a great job on your programs. But as we always say, how can we make that better? Can we make that 50%? Can we get that even more that you have? So you'll see a couple of slides on programs in a few minutes that I'll talk about that'll get some more deep detail on that. Programs rated excellent or good. Again, national average 80%, Beaumont 74, so right in there, not too bad. Again, looking at how we can take what's fair and move it into the good and good into the excellent so we can get that number up a little bit. Top barriers to participation. So you can see the top 4 over here are I don't know what is offered, which is almost seems like the top one in every city we work with. Even though you put your flyers out, you put the program things out, they still don't seem to figure out where it's at. Programs are not convenient, programs not offered, too busy, not interested. You can see on the left are those are the top 4 things in the country as well. Don't know what's offered, too busy, programs not convenient, programs not offered, not interested. So those are very common. Obviously, programs not knowing what is offered is a big one for Beaumont, 55%. So we'll look at maybe ways so we can get that information out to the residents in a way that they will be able to figure that out. Please indicate your level of agreement with these potential benefits. So I think the number one thing there is, Beaumont makes a place more desirable to live. I mean, already 90% of the people believe that's a big thing, a good important thing. Preserves open space and environment. So very positive things that you were already doing, things that some of the improvements that, I will say one thing as we get down to the CIP, this city is doing more with parks and recreation right now, park development, than any city we're working with as far as advancing some things that help some of these numbers. So, but yeah, you guys are doing a lot of that great stuff, and that's what the residents are looking for. This is interesting. If you had $100, how would you allocate funds among the parks and recreation categories? So, the biggest number is improvements, maintenance of existing parks, pools, recreation facilities, $32. So 32%. Improve indoor recreation facilities, 10%. So 42 to almost 50% would be take care of what you have, improve what you have, what you're doing, what you're already doing. You're improving things what you have, and you're expanding what you have. And then you get down into the other numbers, build a new community center, construction of new sports fields, and acquisition of new parkland. So you're looking at about 40% there that want to just get new elements. And so probably people delivering in the areas where they're not being within a walk of a park are the ones that are responding there. What is the maximum amount of additional tax revenue you would be willing to pay to improve the city's parks and recreation system? We asked this question because if you're looking to try and garner a fee, that you could see what people would be willing to spend that money. So I think it's like almost 60% are willing to spend more if it's going to their parks and recreation, if it's going to give them better programs or more parks. So they are willing to spend some more money. Only a little under 40% are saying they would spend nothing. So that's good, because sometimes we get that red is a lot bigger in some cities, and they don't want to spend any extra money. Just a couple of questions on gender. You can see it's pretty much split 50-50 on male, female. And then are you Hispanic ancestry? So again, you saw those numbers in the demographics chart. The respondents lined up with those as well. So trying to make sure we are meeting and hitting all of the residents in the city. Again, this again aligns pretty closely with what the breakdown is for the residents. So, yeah, any questions on any of that? A lot of information to digest, so don't worry about it. So program core areas. So we worked with Ashley and her group on the program areas. The core areas you have are classes, special events, senior services, and sports and leagues. And we have a super deep dive report that you'll see when this is fully done that talks about more than just this chart. But this chart's pretty good to look at. So we look at the life cycle of a program. It's its launch, rising, stable, maxed out, decline, canceled. The great thing is you have no programs that are in decline or being canceled, which is pretty unique. National average is 6%, but we usually see at least 1 or 2% in that category, so great job. 81% of your programs are stable or maxed out. Some of you're only doing about 19% of your new ones. So good, you're doing great. So and there's a full report on that, but that's a good sign. It's a good indication, which it shows too, because of your programs, you had 43% that were using them, and that's why, because they're happy with what they've got. Park and facility assessment. We looked at all of the parks you have. Just a list of the ones you got. Very well spread out, which is nice. You got some, obviously you have some areas where people can't get to within a 10-minute walk, but you do have parks pretty much throughout the community. In most areas, they're not clustered in an older part of town or just a newer part of town, which is great. We looked at each park with a rating system and a GIS device. We went out to every single bench, every single trash can, every playground, every ball field, and log those in. We have a map of this for every park. We have a giant GIS database that we'll turn over to Doug and the staff in your city that basically rates every single thing on a scale of 1 to 5. So great, 4 to 5, good, fair, and poor. So I could tell you how many good benches you have, how many poor trash cans you have, how many great ball fields you have. If we need to break down on that, we have it all taken care of. We also looked at the parks under 4 categories: access and connectivity, condition and functionality, safety and comfort, and maintenance. So we don't just go, oh, the park looks great or it doesn't look great. We look at all those 4 things. Those all get factored into this chart here, so you can see each park, and you can see how it scores in the access and connectivity. So some parks will do better. They'll have better access for parking, better access for trails. Some are not. We even assessed Noble Creek. It's not maintained by you, but the residents use that. So we included that in the park list so we can see how it's, you can't control what's done there, but you can at least see how it rates. So you guys are all in the 3, I mean, there's nothing under 3, which is great. I think only one of them, Stewart Park, but you're improving Stewart Park already, so that's going to be higher. The sports park sitting improvements as well. These were done a year ago, so anything you've done since then doesn't show up. So you're going to have, those numbers are going to go up if you were to rate them again here in the next year or so. So good ratings for parks that are a little bit older, but nothing is in a real poor state. So that's great. We also looked at the one facility you have, the community center. Our architect looked at that, did a full breakdown on what was in the park. I mean, in the building. Talked and kind of what the condition of everything was. So as they worked with Kevin and his group to kind of create a report for that, it will be in the final report at the end of the project. Any questions on that at all?
Yeah, so you guys do the assessment on all that stuff? And you guys came up with all these numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So each park gets a rating for each one of those things, and then it's all in the formula. So, and the person doing the assessment was it's a landscape architect who was a park planner for City of Riverside for 30 years, and basically he was a park superintendent for the last 5 years. So he's looks at them with a pretty critical eye. I mean, you'd have to have a brand new park to get a 5. That would be what a new park would be. So this is kind of comparing those things to that. So.
And this helps us, receiving this information from Doug and his group, helps us put together the plans for future improvements. And like you said, it's not just the score for the park as a whole, but even individual amenities. And so we can kind of pare it down to DeForge. And so maybe DeForge had really nice benches, but the baseball field scored really low. And so as we come before council and ask for funding or ask for projects, or we work on CIPs with our public works director, we can say, hey, here's a couple of factors in our facility assessment or park assessment that we need to start to zero in on. And then as those individual aspects of the park get improved, the overall score goes up as well.
Okay, so level of service, this is where it gets fun. And it's, you probably have some questions on this if you've looked at it before, but the goal of this, looking at everything we've already have basically in stock in all the parks, what the community residents wanted to see based on the surveys. We look at your community parks, neighborhood parks, mini parks. The dark area in the middle is called a recommended service level. So there is no state or national standard for this. So the 0.7 acres per 1,000 people is something that we bring together with the gentleman we work with, Nile. He's does these all around the country. So he's done over several hundred of these around the country. So at various cities your size, bigger, larger, smaller. And so these numbers, we start with kind of a general, 1 per whatever number we have. And then we look at the survey and see what the residents wanted to see more of. And that drives that number on the right side, the 1 per 12,000, 1 per 10,000. So then we take those numbers, compare them to what you have. So let's just take tennis courts, for example. Right now you have no tennis courts. You have some obviously at Noble Creek. So you're a total of 1. So we're saying you should have 1 court per 12,000. If you zoom across there, you have a need for 4 courts based on what the survey was telling us and what that 1 per 12,000 says. By the end of the 10-year period between now and 2034, you would need 5. So that's something, if it says need exists, those are things they want to try and target now to help meet what the residents are looking for based on the survey and based on what we believe is a good level of service based on national standards. So we have one of those for every single item, and we'll show you how those play into some of the mapping here we do in a moment. But is there any questions on kind of how that works? I think the big takeaway is up on top. You would see for neighborhood parks, you have a need of about 4 acres now and about 11 acres in 10 years, which is consistent with the amount of growth you're going to have. And this is based on your population going from 56,000 to 66,000 down there in the lower left. So.
And to help provide a little context, because people ask, like, what's a neighborhood park? What's a community park? So community parks, we're thinking things like Stewart Park would be considered a community park. Sports Park would be considered a community park. Where a neighborhood park, you're looking more like Wildflower Park or Stetson Park. Trevino Park would be, those would be considered your neighborhood parks. Mini parks are the really small, teeny tiny pocket parks. Sunny Hills over on Cougar Way is one of our mini parks we consider. So it kind of gives you an idea. The regional is Noble Creek is the one regional that we put in here, but that helps you understand the scope and size of the different parks and kind of how we classified them for this report moving forward.
Question about the trails.
Sure.
How did you analyze the trails? Do you have a map of the
Yeah, we
trails?
work with Doug and his staff to identify where all the trails were and where the future ones are coming for the Edison trails, and
So
so
when you get the final master plan, that'll all be in there?
I think there's a map coming up.
there's a map coming up. that
Yeah,
talks
there's
about
a
it,
map
yeah.
coming up, and yeah, so.
I only glossed over it.
That's okay.
No,
That's
it's
okay.
okay.
No
No
problem.
worries.
Yeah,
It was
no
only,
problem.
only 80 slides. It's
Yeah,
okay.
so there's a lot to digest in here,
There
so
is.
don't worry about that. I mean, it even overwhelms me sometimes when I'm going back through it. It's like to present it in an easy way, so.
Yeah, and we did trails inside our city, and some of them were paved, some of them were different walking paths and different areas. And so we identified each of those different walking paths, what the need is for the future, and then took into consideration a couple of the trails that are going to be improved in the near future, mostly with the Edison easements, as something that we know that's coming. And so that's why the numbers show that there is some stuff on the board that'll be coming to us.
Thank you. I'm very excited about that.
So as far as the community parks, it shows that we need 31 acres, right?
31 acres now, 50 by the time in 10 years, yeah. That'd be what you'd be shooting for.
So would that be on people that are building that would make those, or?
So as we collect, some of the things that our city has been doing really well right now is creating a fee schedule and some things that allow us to capture some funds from developers. And so development impact fees is one of the things that when projects go through the pipeline that are outside of my department, maybe it's a warehouse, maybe it's a commercial thing, or whatever it may be, residential. There's these different development impact fees that are associated with those projects. That's an opportunity for us to capture funds, and then we can decide, looking at what type of parks we need. That is something that we can choose to invest in, or maybe we need to go out and find some different land that might be available, or whatever it may be. There's also opportunities when developers come in and build new houses that they would develop a park as part of the fee in lieu for that project or for those developments. So we do have a new park that's coming in over in the Sorensen Park, which is over in the new Meritage houses over in Fairway Canyon. So that's considered a neighborhood park that's in the pipeline. They're in the process of building that. And so that is one way that we'll chip away at this number, but it kind of gives us a little bit of direction moving forward as where do we need to be compared to other cities in our region and other cities that have gone through this process. How do we compare, and what type of stuff do we need to have? So the community park one is a little harder because usually it's the
Those are bigger
neighborhood
footprints.
Yeah, bigger
Yeah.
footprints, and they're usually not necessarily connected to, say, a development or something like that. But it's something that as new developments come in, to have these conversations with other department heads and other people that are working out these development agreements and different things, that maybe there is some opportunities. And so I know of some cities that have done some pretty significant projects, and some of their efforts to have the developers offset some of the cost of some sports fields or whatever it is, they've been pretty successful with doing that. So this kind of just gives us the framework and the direction.
And now you have something to direct them when they do come and you say, we need these things
Right.
based on this report, so that's where it
Yeah.
helps.
And if they come and say like, yeah, we're interested in doing this, I'm like, oh, that's great, but here's what we need as a city. How can you help us accomplish these goals?
I think the big one too on this, which we'll talk about in a little bit later too, is down at the bottom, we have indoor aquatic space, indoor fitness recreation space. So you can see you've got, 25,000 square foot facility now. They have some, Noble Creek has a little community building. But you still have a need right now, even today, for another recreation center, which you'll see on the, when we get to the final chart here on the priorities list. That's one of the top things people wanted, was another recreation center, because you have the one, that's existing, but it's quite a ways from from other people. So those are things that, so, yeah, we can, if there's more questions on this, if anybody wants to do a really deep dive in this, we can set up a separate Zoom meeting with Neelay, who's my partner, to go through this is his specialty. He just couldn't be here tonight, so. Equity maps. So now what we've done is taken and looked at all of the parks you have, and you'll see on the chart here, every park is there, and the colors and the numbers are the ratings system that we had that you saw on that rating sheet. So you can see not only where your parks are, but where the parks that are in better condition. So as we start to look into where should we do some improvements, that gives you a pretty quick glance on where those things probably should be happening at. Then we look at a number of these different elements. So we take, in this case, you have the one regional park with Beaumont Cherry Valley, and as you saw in the thing, there was no need existing for that. You'll see there's a purple circle that kind of just covers the bottom of the screen there. That's the service area for what you need for a regional park. So you're fortunate to have that regional park in your city. You don't have to take care of it, but your people get to use it, so that's really great. Community parks, this is based on population. So if we say, a community park, you see up there, it says in the top, it says 2 acres per 1,000 people. So if you go to the far left dot, Nicholas and Palmer Park, the Powell Park, that dot and then that circle represents how far out you have to go to get 1,000 people for every 2 acres. So you'll see, while you're really covered well with community parks on the kind of the north side of the freeway, and then you jump over to your neighborhood parks, and that covers some of the same area and some of the stuff on the other side of the freeway.
And I think the cool thing when Doug and his team first showed us these maps is it really gives you a visual representation of what our people have and our people in our community have access to. And as we make future decisions and have opportunities for new things and new parks or new centers or whatever it may be, it kind of helps us guide that conversation and say, okay, maybe there are some areas where maybe they don't have that 10-minute walk, which is one of the first slides that we showed in the beginning, but also begins to show where we might want to invest, future park opportunities and amenities.
Cool. So then we start looking at each individual, well, this is the mini park, so you have 2 mini parks. So you can see, if we were to combine this slide, you really do have a lot of parks throughout the city, and they're covering most of the area. But we do need to add some based on our level of service. Then we looked at several different amenities, your dog park. So the purple is other providers, so you have a dog park at Noble Creek, and you do have 2 circles here, one with the solid green line, which is your existing dog park, and then the dashed green line is the new one that's being built. That'll be done, I don't know, probably next year.
Park, yeah.
Palmer Park, yeah. So if it's a dashed line, it's a future. We want to show you that it's a future element that's going to be going in. So your dog parks are pretty covered on the west side of the city. You are missing some, obviously, in the east and southwest area or southeast part of the city. Trails, your trails. So the dark green is trails that are existing. The purple is obviously Noble Creek, and then we have some new trails that are going to be going in over by Palmer Park and Nicholas Park, as well as some of the new Edison trails that are going in. So we've looked at all the trails and where they're at, and so we do obviously need some more trails, especially on the south side.
And some of these parks, so some of our parks have a walking path in them. If you go to the sports park on an evening, there's a lot of people there playing soccer and doing all that fun stuff, but there's also a whole ton of people using that park just to walk and use that trail. And so we wanted to capture where we see residents using those parts and those amenities in our parks. And so that's why you'll see some of our parks actually listed on the trails page. because there's a walking path, or there's enough of a walking path where it's kind of a significant distance. We didn't want to just say like, oh, there's a sidewalk, so let's call it a walking path. We wanted to highlight some of our parks that actually have kind of a meandering sidewalk throughout the park, and that people could actually create some distance if they wanted to walk in those areas. But then also you'll see like, for example, the Cherry Channel, or we have the Sundance Bowl Trail. So these are different walk areas that are paved, that people can walk down as well in different areas of our city. So you'll see a whole different list of amenities on this particular page. So some of them are parks, and then some of them are walking trails.
I have a question on dog parks. Do you guys count the private dog parks in any of those
Not if
communities?
the public can't use it, no. If
Okay.
only these are public access. So if it's in an
Okay.
HOA within a gated community, we don't count those, yeah.
Okay. Because Four Seasons has a dog park
Right.
within theirs, but it's just not usable for everybody. I
Just for
understand
theirs,
that.
yeah.
But in terms of like
Yeah.
knowing what's out there, there is something there for those residents at least, so
There
within
is,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Within that walkability. But it does look like there's a lack of accessibility on the southeast side of
Right.
Beaumont, and that's important going forward too. So I did want to know how you account
Sure.
for that, because there are a few out there. They're just-
There are.
I know they're not public, but.
Right. And that was the same thing that came up in our conversation on trails, because there's some pretty cool
That are
trails
private
and
as
walking
well within
trails
those
in that
HOA.
Four Seasons area.
Yeah.
But the public doesn't have access to it. They exist in the city, but not necessarily for the entire public. And so that was kind of the benchmark line, I guess, that we put together when we're creating these maps, and having Doug and his team go out and assess the different amenities and parks was, is it easily accessible? And so most of them that had gates, we didn't send them into them.
Well,
And that's pretty typical with all the cities
Yeah.
we work with, yeah.
I just think looking at the whole map, and when we're talking to residents and people about things, it's good to know that, why it's not included in there, because it's there, but it isn't open to the public. And the trail thing is important to me, because I have a bigger visual that, about what I think the trails should be connecting to, because there are other communities around us that have very elaborate trail maps that look at larger areas, like Redlands has their giant trail system where it all connects, right? So in my mind, what I'm looking at is how can we create something similar with what we have and expand on that so that trails are linked and connected and not just in isolation. However, I do want and support the walking opportunities within our parks as well, because that's where people are really doing most of their walking. We're not all backpacking every day, right? Right? It's not, that's not our, I don't think we have a nation of backpackers here, but, you
Right.
know, I'm all down for that. But it's just that trail system matters when you're actually promoting your community. Like, what do we have? What amenities do we do have? So there's a lot of stuff around us that, in my vision, I'm looking at those trail systems. How can we connect to the ones that are already out there so people can expand their recreational opportunities, not just here, but in more of a natural setting? So I really like looking at this map, and you can see the gaps for sure.
exactly.
In south of Oak Valley in the Olivewood area, which
Right.
I know that's a gated community too. And then just in general, it's very enlightening to see that. So I'm really excited to see the trail systems too.
Oh.
Thank you.
Ball fields, you're pretty well covered with Noble Creek and with all of the parks you have, some of the future stuff happening over at Nicholas. So you're, other than down in the very south portion, which again is probably all of the HOA stuff, you're really covered for that. Multi-purpose fields, we just call them rectangular because they can be football or soccer. It's mostly soccer. So you can see there, again, we're doing some new stuff over at the sports park. So those are identified with the dash line. Stuff is happening over at Nicholas at dash line as well. So there is not really any major gaps there, again, except for the south portion, but your city is pretty unique when you look at that kind of area. It's not really designated for sports area, so. Basketball courts, a lot of courts everywhere, some future ones going in up in the northeast, and then pretty well covered. A couple of small gaps that we could look at doing, but we'd have to have another park in those areas to do that. So, pickleball courts, you've got the ones at Noble Creek in purple, and then you can see all the ones how many are we adding at Nicholas? 8?
It's proposed. I
forget.
think it's proposed for 6.
Six,
new
okay,
ones.
so you can see that right now you have the smaller green circle that's covering a little bit. When you add those new courts in with this new project, it's going to expand that circle, the dashed line, pretty much covering about 2/3 of your city. So you'll have a pretty good amount of pickleball courts for what you would need.
Doug, what about the ones in the community center? Did those count?
We didn't count those in the community center because they're kind of multi-purpose. So we could put them on if you want, but we didn't.
Sure. And I think what the baseline that we used for pickleball courts was that it was accessible at any time. And our pickleball courts at the CRC are like very, very specific times.
Even the outside one?
Oh, except the one outside one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
There's one on the outside.
Yeah. And then there is a new one going in at Soren's.
Yeah, yes.
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 We can add those to, we can add those to those.
With
Yeah.
lights?
No.
Wait, what?
Hold on. Let's see. I'm writing notes. I see. I'm watching your eyes and say, okay, gotcha. Lights. I got it. I hear you.
Doug will be
Those
there with
ones
a
don't have
flashlight?
lights. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
flashlight.
Okay, yeah, we'll add that to that. That's a good point. Tennis courts, the only ones you have are at Noble Creek, so you do have some that's covered city, but as you saw, and that need exists, chart in the LOS, there is a big need for tennis courts in the city. Skate parks, you've got the one, covers for your need pretty much the entire city, not much down in the far west, or I guess northwest, but that's really good. Playgrounds, a lot of good playgrounds throughout. And then what we're putting together as well, that will be in the final report, will be our rating system for the playground. So we'll have a colored map that'll show the ratings for each playground throughout the city. So you'll be able to identify, you have playgrounds to cover everything, but how many of them are good condition, how many of them are in fair condition. So that'll be an update to this map that's going to be coming when we do the final report. Picnic shelters, again, the improvements you're doing at Stewart is going to be great for the middle, and then the stuff you're doing out at Nicholas and Palmer is going to obviously increase that number as well. Gazebos, we look at those too. We've got basically 2 locations for those, so there is some need for those in part of the city. And then splash pads, we had the one coming at Stewart, so when you get that'll cover a good portion of the city, but nothing on the northwest side. So there would be a need to maybe look at something like that in the future. Indoor fitness recreation space, you've got your existing building and you got the stuff at Noble Creek, but this is why probably the biggest need you have, and we'll talk about that as one of the big moves as we move forward with this plan. But there is definitely a need for more recreation space, indoor recreation space in the city. So now we have what we call the priority investment rating. This is these are the charts that come out of that survey we did with the statistically valid. And was there any more questions on the maps? I'm sorry, I just should have asked. I went through them kind of quick, but so this is what comes out of the survey. This is basically what people feel they have a need for and what is their need is not being met. So you talked about biking and hiking trails, number 1. And that's pretty much number 1 in almost every city. We're doing 2 right now where actually a pool is number 1, which is surprising. But your pool is right there behind that, number 3. Splash pads, spray parks, those are very popular. Restrooms, shaded picnic areas, shade, community center, they're really high. Basically, you can see all those things in there with some of the things that we saw on that level of service and why those numbers were high, because that's what the people are looking for. And then you have, you go down to, and nothing on here is something that's like not needed, it's just not needed as much. So mountain bike trails is down there in the medium priority. It doesn't mean that it's not as important as other things. It's just the need is being met enough for people. They don't need to have more of that. So this chart covers all of the amenities, and this is what drives a lot of that level of service numbers. This is same thing for the programs and activities. So again, the top thing aligns right with the MPI we talked about earlier, where a lot of your residents are very out doing a lot of fitness things, so they want a lot of fitness, adult fitness and wellness programs. Cultural special events, which Stewart Park is going to give you a great opportunity to continue that stuff. 50-plus activities, swim lessons. So the pool is definitely something you might want to consider. It's obviously a very expensive item. It's something that a lot of people want, but most cities can't afford to really run. So it'll be a big decision to be made down the road. But again, a lot of the things in there, just stuff that people want to do, want to be active. So,
And how were those ratings developed?
well, the question, generally the question's asked, do you have a need for this, and is that need being met?
So is it from the survey, or is it also?
From the survey, it's
or
just
is
from
it-
the survey.
Did
This
it,
is-
did it correlate, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Did
it's
it
okay.
correlate with the surveys that you guys did in the field work in the
Yes.
parks as well? So is it a blending of the respondent surveys
This
plus
is
the
the one that
amenities
was
that
mailed
exist?
out.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one that was mailed out, so.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the responses we got from those 416 that responded, and it's extrapolated over the entire community based on the way the survey is put together, so.
Hey Doug, just with, I mean, I realize that like us down in like Fairway Canyon and Olivewood may not have a community pool ran by the city, but you guys, before we start investing in this stuff, we have 2 pools in
Sure.
Olivewood and we have splash pads in Olivewood and,
Right,
you know what
sure.
I mean? And so
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're really
Yeah.
looking at all of that stuff before we throw another pool down
Sure,
in the
absolutely.
middle of 2 full communities that have.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, Eric, there is a lot to consider there. We have 2 pools in Fairway, there's a new one down in the lower part of Tournament Hills, and we have a splash pad in Fairway, and even though those are HOA amenities, I think a lot of thought needs to go into,
Sure.
even though a community pool is what people like, for sure. I just think the placement and all of that needs to take into account what the existing facilities are.
And during our budget presentation that we just did, our special workshop with council last week, one of the enhancements that our department requested is a feasibility study for community center and aquatic center. And so it's the next step, the recommendation from Doug and his crew. And it is an opportunity for us to do that deep dive and really begin to see. It's not something that we're necessarily advocating for or saying is a must-have, but it was one of the things that came up so much
Yeah.
in the survey, and I do think a lot of that is, I think there's some history, and I think there's some nostalgia in regards to the pool that used to be run by the city, and I think it is fresh in people's mind. I think with us doing a lot of construction over at Stewart Park, it's also a reminder, right, that there was something there and it's not anymore and all that stuff. And so I think there's some of that definitely goes into it. And so from the recommendation from our Parks Master Plan group, we ended up putting that in as an enhancement, and that was presented to the council at the workshop. The budget hasn't been approved necessarily yet. It's in the process. It's looking like it's going to in June. They'll go through with that, but we're hoping if everything goes well and council approves that, then we're going to have that as already in our budget, ready to go for next year, and that would kind of probably be our step 1 after the conclusion of this process.
I can see the utilization of having a pool in. I mean, I know a lot of the new developments, we all have our pools and whatnot, all our niceties. But being that there's no pool at Stewart anymore, I can see where the people feel that something was taken away from them. So I think it would be really beneficial. I mean, I get budget and all of
Yeah.
that, but where we all live in these newer communities, that's usually an automatic through our HOA. So I would like to see the people also that don't have that have been here for a really long time, get it back.
Sure.
And that's the reason for the way that survey is mailed out, so that
Yeah.
it covers the entire city.
Right.
So you get that full, where you don't just have people from one area say, "I don't need a pool, we got a pool."
Yeah.
Right, because that isn't fair to the larger
Right,
community.
exactly.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
because one area has it, that
Yeah.
doesn't speak for the entire community,
Right.
for
Yeah,
sure.
And it came through in a lot of our stuff, even as we were looking at programs and as Ashley and her team were talking about what are things that are successes. I think the success of last year's aquatics program this year for the summer, we're doing the same thing, except we've doubled it in size and we're adding water aerobics and we're already selling out most sessions as it is right now. And so the pool conversation definitely came up in different things, whether it be the survey, whether it be our program assessment, whether it be the statistically valid surveys that were sent out. So it's definitely something that we want to at least acknowledge and say, we hear you, city, and we hear you, community, and we are going to do diligence and not just jump over the edge and say, yep, we got to get one or anything like that, but really take a real hard look and say, how would that work? Is it really needed? And then really come up to presenting to council, what the plan would be and the cost associated with it, because I think that's the determining factor for many cities is just it's an operational
Yeah, it's about
undertaking.
It could be over $1 million
Yeah.
just a year just to maintain it.
Yeah. So those things really important to want to be able to address.
I'll speak for the people that have lived here for a long time, and I got to use that pool a lot of years, and not everybody does live in an HOA or whatever and lives out without the community. So I know when that pool got taken, a lot of people were upset because a lot of kids use that pool that are not privileged enough to live in certain areas or whatever, so they get to ride their bikes and stuff to those pools. So I think you should take a look into it.
Sure. Yeah, we will.
Sure.
So now we're putting together the capital improvement plan, and this is about a 6-tab document, Excel, and a lot of detail, but I'm going to kind of do the high level, and then if anybody wants to get into the weeds at a different time, I can do that. But what we're looking at is 3 basic categories: projects that are planned that the city has already funded. So in this case, and this is why I was saying this number is higher than any city we're doing these in at all by far, is you've already planned and funded $18 million worth of projects in Nicholas, Palmer, Sports Park, and Stewart Park. That long list there is just the different types of, you also have the most number of funding sources that we've had probably ever, which is great because that really helps find the money that you need the money for. So you can see down at the bottom that $17.8 million, that's in the parks, and then you have about $220,000 in facilities. The other category we're looking at is planned future. They're not funded yet, so these are items that we're recommending now or things that Doug and his staff know they want to do, and projects including basically most of the rest of the parks you have. So about $17 million worth of projects that we haven't identified where that funding is coming from, but we know it's going to need to be done. So this will help council start to look at, and there's a full list of all of these projects on a sheet that I don't think I have on this because it's too detailed. But every project gets listed with the phase and with the amount that can be adjusted so that these numbers can be updated really easily. Then we also look at stuff that you've completed. Again, another super high number this is just in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. It doesn't even go back that far. Mm-hmm. So you've completed over $15 million worth of park improvements on all of those parks you see in front of you, which is great. That's phenomenal. So again, these are, for a little Beaumont, I guess people would probably think you guys are really rocking it when it comes to parks, stuff you've completed, things you're planning for, and things that you're looking for down the road. So again, like I said, there's a lot more detail on this if you want to see it, but this is kind of an overview of where we're at with the CIP. Any questions on that? Values, mission, vision. So we had a large meeting with all of Doug's staff, about a 4 or 5 hour deal where we went through and we had them kind of break down what their values were in the department. Did the process where these are the 4 values that they all felt was the most important thing to them: teamwork, innovation, inclusion, and service excellence. We also had them look at their mission. The mission statement was probably 2 sentences long, no one could remember it, so we had it broken down, and they came up with to elevate community. That's their mission. Something easily to tell new staff as they're coming in, hey, this is what our mission is. We're to elevate community as we do our job. And then the vision, which is really cool, parks with a purpose, recreation with heart, and community at the core. So that's the vision. So those are really simple, easy things to remember, because as I always tell Parks and Rec staff, you are the face of the community. You are the people that most residents see. They never they never come in here and talk to anybody very much of anything, but they see the people at the rec center, at the parks, the maintenance guys, everybody. So the whole staff knows these and can remember these easily, and that can become their daily deal. So do you want to say anything?
No, I just to I think there's so many great processes that we went through during the Parks Master Plan, but I'd have to say getting all of our staff, so every crew member, all 25 of Kevin's guys came off the field, and all of Ashley's part-time workers, and we had, I think, every single employee attend this meeting, and to get them all into one room and to get them really excited about why they do what they're doing was probably one of the cooler opportunities and experiences for this whole process. And then just like Doug said, it was like 4 or 5 hours, and we fed everybody and just had a great team bonding time, but also at the very end of it to see all of our people kind of it click inside of them, whether they're taking registration at the CRC and helping someone get to their class, or they're maintaining a park and they're trimming and cutting and doing all the stuff out on the field. To have them walk away from that meeting and say, you know what, like I can get behind this, and that was something that was just really, really cool as a director, to be able to see and to kind of create that unity amongst our team. And I think it was, and hopefully it'll be something that we continue to emulate and continue to articulate to our community members as we move forward. So I think that was just a really, really fun experience for me. It was kind of just a cool moment for me as a director and in my career. So we appreciated it.
And the final
I just
report.
think, if I could just say one thing,
Yeah,
I
sure.
think you see it. I mean, we don't run into your people outside of seeing them on the streets or mowing yards or whatever, but you do see it in the pride in the parks. So, I mean, just when you drive by, so
Absolutely.
just the way they look.
Yeah. Yep. And this helps foster that pride and help them understand there's a reason you're doing what you're doing, and it matters, and the community recognizes it and stuff. So appreciate it.
In the final report, it has a full accounting of all the things that were talked about that day. We went through 4 different key areas in the park development and maintenance, and had the staff give this, so that'll all be in there too. It's a little too in the weeds to get into tonight, but you'll have that in the final report as well. So we look at big moves. These are things that we recommend at a high level that you want to first do, and these will be in the CIP as well. But we're looking at basically 5 in this one. First one we talked about, new feasibility study for a new community center. You include aquatics in there too, probably at the same time. Number 2 is develop a plan for acquiring new parkland. So we want, as this new parkland becomes available, or we identify where that is, that's very important, as we saw we need to get more parkland overall. Develop 5 miles of SE easement trails. So we have a lot of SE easements that don't have trails built yet that are planned for that. So we put that high on the priority list too, to get those started in development. And then just, again, as you saw, the residents say sustainability and modernization of your existing parks and facilities. So it's fun to do new stuff, but we want to make sure we take care of the existing stuff and improve that. And that was, as you saw in that one chart, that was one of the, probably 60% of the residents wanted to do that, so. And finally, enhance program inclusivity and community engagement. As we said, the programs, you have a lot of people that are doing your programs. They're a little below national average, getting those up. So that's what we want to do, is just enhance the programs. And we'll have a whole program report and how we can do that in the final report as well. Any questions on those?
No, just Ashley, give me a box of those community city news things, okay? I'll take them to the HOA. I'll get the word out.
So where we're going from here, obviously here tonight, presenting to you, we have a community public meeting. We'll present basically the same presentation to the community, so they can see where we've come from when we first met with them. We're preparing the draft report right now, actually working on that. We'll have a staff review of the draft report in the beginning of May, middle of May, finalize the report by the end of May, and present to City Council on June 3rd. So that's kind of our schedule between now and the end of the project. And that's it. Any other questions, or? If you think of something later, go, man, I should have asked. You can shoot an email to Doug and he'll get it to us. So,
Of course.
it's a lot to digest in one evening.
It is.
Well, I have to say that that's a fantastic draft. Lots of information for us to really think about. My mind is already flipping around on what I want to talk about and what I want to do a little deep dive into. But overall, it really reflects a lot of hard work on all of our parts. Not just you guys, but us too. Because we've been out there too, doing all that.
Hustling, getting
All
the
that-
surveys
all
and
that
everything.
work
That's
out there
important.
too.
That's super
So-
important.
So, you know, it is a collective effort for all of us to look at what our park systems and what our service commitments are in the city. So a lot going forward. And I want to comment on the team building that you guys did. It is critical that that keeps happening so that our people that are out in the front line with all of the residents, whether it's inside the rec center, out in the parks, or doing the hard labor stuff, that they actually don't feel that they're separated from the residents, because it's easy to do that. It's easy to do maintenance on something routinely, be frustrated, and forget that you're actually bringing joy to people's lives when you're actually the one doing all that hard, heavy work. So I really appreciate those opportunities that you guys are doing to make sure that you do those team building things with all of your staff, because it does make it matter more to them and to you guys too. So next time I want to go. I want to be there. But so I really do appreciate that. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to add about the master plan? Eric? No? Nobody? Okay. Well, then I'm going to ask for a motion. I can make the motion, I can ask for one.
Chair, I'm sorry, before you make a motion, I do have a public comment.
Oh, I'm so sorry, did I miss that? Oh, wait, are there any requests from the public to speak? Go. Sorry, I skipped right through that.
I do have a written request that came in, an email, and I'll just read it aloud. This is from Clinton Yates. States, hello, I have lived in Fairway Canyon going on 10 years now. I love the sport of disc golf. Disc golf is massively growing, over 500,000 PDGA members. Asking for locals and the extended disc golf members coming here. I understand there are some plans to upgrade Nicholas Park, which would remove the disc golf course. Will the disc golf course be relocated or possibly stay nearby? Best regards.
Can I comment on that before I ask a question, or what? Who answers?
Typically, we take it if it's something that we can that was discussed already. You can
Yeah.
mention it.
The reason why I wanted to comment, if I may, is because I have talked to a few residents in our community who like the disc golf, and that is heavy on their minds. So I kind of appreciate that comment. So as a person who's out there talking to people in the parks as a citizen with my dogs and not asking people for their feedback, I hear a lot. And there is concern from the people. There was a big tournament out there last week. There were a lot of people out there doing that. And I realize it's problematic because of the changes that are proposed for Nicholas. But
Sure.
I would like you all to know that there are residents out there who have legitimate concerns about what's going to happen to that, because it is actually a big deal to them. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. So any response?
Yeah, as we move forward with the plans for Nicholas, we have some opportunities to relocate. We just need to continue to work that out. Council actually gave us a direction to donate that to the Parks District, and that hasn't worked out in where they originally wanted to put it. They aren't sure if they want to put it there right now, and so it is something that is on our radar. We do want to figure out a plan for it. The plan isn't just to scrap it and just throw it away. We are actively trying to pursue a partner that would be able to house the Frisbee golf area and some of the nets and the things that go with it. We are working at that. It is part of our plan as we move forward with the development and the design for Nicholas Park.
Any other comments from anyone else?
Did you get his contact info? You got an email? Okay, all right. Just send it to me. I'll reach out to him.
Is it comment about master plan? No. Can we accept the master plan and then do staff comments? Is that okay?
Yep.
So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the report from Doug Story and RHA on master plan. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No. Motion carries. Next item is D, goals and objectives. Do we have any discussion on that? No? Staff comments?
would, first of all, want to say thank you for Ashley. I think she brought down a little bit of swag for you guys. These are our, you want to tell them what it is? Because I'll mess it up, because there you go.
Is it a pickleball bag?
So those are the new 2025 bags we're going to be giving away at our Beaumont Nights Market. So we'll have those available at the City and the Parks booth this Thursday. And inside of it, it has some flyers. So we have our entertainment lineup. I know, Dennis, you're looking for that. This week is 70s/disco nights. We have an ABBA tribute band. And also included in the bag is Breezing Through Beaumont, a flyer that's coming up on May 17th. We're also looking for volunteers to help us with road closures. So if anyone's free and not running that event, I'd appreciate your help. And then the Cherry Festival is coming up. So we went ahead and included the lineup for their musical entertainment for that event as well.
And that was the only comments and then we threw a copy. I'm sure most of you already received the new recreation guide and city news, but it continues to be a great source of information. I know, as we saw in the survey, there's a lot of people still that say they don't know things that are going on, but if you point them to this, they're going to know a little bit more about what we're doing and what times and all that fun stuff. So continue to encourage people to read it, and hopefully they take it from their mailbox and put it somewhere important, and then, we'll get the word out best we can.
I do know that a lot of my neighbors get it, and they hang on to it, and I have it there. That's
you
why I'm always, we have so many new people moving
Yeah.
in. I'd like to front load that
Sure.
and have them get it in all of our new communities so that they get used to
Absolutely.
having that information ahead of time, so they don't go, what do we do here? Nothing.
There's nothing to do
There's
here.
nothing to
There's
do in
lots to
Beaumont.
do,
There's
lots to
plenty
do.
to do in here. You just
There
gotta,
is.
look at it. So that's why I'm always hot on that. Like, if I could ever get something that I can take to
Yeah.
our other residents, I like to do that.
Appreciate it.
I'll go
And-
stand on a corner.
And just to plug
You can go
what
to prom
Ashley was
night.
saying, yeah, I know. Come to our senior prom; it's going to be fun. Just to piggyback on what Ashley had said, I know Nicole and Ashley will send information out to you guys. If there's ever an opportunity where you want to volunteer, where you want to come out, I would encourage you to come to anything. We are officially entering the silly season of recreation right now between spring and summer, where it's nonstop. And so we have so many events and so many things. So I just encourage you to come out and find us at our booth on market night, or come to one of our events. We want to hang out, and I'll do my best to introduce you to as many people who are out there, to let them know how you're serving and what you're doing for our community, because we really appreciate it. But we would love to have you come out to any one of the thousands and thousands of events that we're doing between now and the fall.
Thousands. Okay, so
That's it for my staff comments.
staff
so
comments,
thank you.
city council representative comments, Councilman.
Just, I'd like people to understand that the issue with the pool and the issue with the disc golf were not easy decisions to make. But you looked at the numbers, the dollar amounts that we've spent on parks so far in the last few years, about 15 million. If I remember, the pool would have taken up a third of that. So we're looking at ways to do that. And I do want to applaud Doug, you and staff, for working with the school district to the point that, those of us who moved here about 20 years ago, there was a Measure A where we were promised, that was not the Measure A, there was a Measure Z, I think, for the pool, that we were promised that the community would have access to that pool during the summer when it got hot.
Sure.
And we relied a lot on that when we made the decision with the pool at Stewart Park. So you have made that happen. So I want to let you know that I'm very impressed, and I'm pleased that you were able to get that to happen.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay, committee comments. Eric, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it was just this weekend was AYSO's Cherry Cup, so it's a big event for the soccer community. 76 teams showed up this year, so
Wow.
I think it's probably the second biggest, definitely the biggest since COVID happened. So the fields are part of that, right? People like to play in nice places, and that was one of them. So very well done.
Any other comments from any of our amazing committee members? I always have something. Okay. I would like to start with a thank you to Kevin, because Kevin did something amazing. One day, I was at the dog park, and I hadn't been there in a while because of the weather and whatever, and I went down there, and there was some vandalism to the front access of the dog park, and it was pretty dangerous. A lot of things were just hanging, and trying to get into the dog park was not easy. And so I exercised my opportunity to make a contact, and Kevin responded immediately. And within 30 minutes, he had a crew down there to mitigate the liability issue at the front entrance of the park, and also listen to me talk about how important it is that even though our park has got some future changes coming to it, that our community is watching with open eyes about what we're doing for all of these amazing things. And so Kevin created a solution for that is kind of temporary, but still workable. And in the process of doing that, I've been down to the dog park a lot, and I've talked to, I'm going to say, at least 12 residents who had dogs, because now it was warmer during that week, and so people are out in the dog park more, and they're using it. And people use our dog park from everywhere, not just Fairway and not just in the city of Beaumont, but they come from Banning and Loma Linda. And I try to maintain I'm just a citizen here with my dog, but that's hard for me. Because I'm excited about it, and a lot of the people that are in the park have come to our pop-ups and looked at the plans, and they're excited, and they have questions, and they want to know what's going on. So that visibility makes it really important for us to make sure that just because our park is going to change, that it doesn't become a dead space, because people are using it and they like it. They like it the way it is, but they also like it to be safe. So for mitigating that first initial safety thing, I want to give you a big applause from me for that, because it really meant a lot to me personally that you did that. And secondly, the crew that worked on it, I know that they are trying their best to do things to make it usable for us. So I'd like to just ask you in the best way possible to don't forget about our dog park, and make sure that, because it is coming into a higher use season, and make sure that those changes stay steady and that the surfaces are the way that we need them, just for safety issues. Because most people know that it's going to change. They know, but they love it. And whatever we can do to make sure that our community realizes how important our commitment is, I'm all for that. So I want to thank you, Kevin, for all of that support that you did, because it's going to make me cry. But honestly, it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me and to my daughter. And when I tell the other community members that you guys came down right away and took care of it, that actually means something to them, that they know that it's not going to take 2 months or 6 months or a year for things to change. So I just wanted to personally thank you for all of that, and I'll be calling you once a week. No, I'm kidding. Just to make sure. But I wanted to say that. And then lastly, on the disc golf thing, I did have an interaction with, a positive interaction with people in our community who really expressed to me how much they want that. So whatever we can do, like my mind is already spinning around, like who can we partner with? I think collectively we have to come up with something where it actually goes someplace that people can use it. So if anybody has a thought, I have a few that I'm happy to talk to you guys about later, but I don't think we should just let it go away, because it is important to that community if you really look at what they do. They had a big tournament down there not a couple of weekends ago, and it was, I got there with the dogs and the parking lot was full, and I went, wow, it was full. And they had set up stuff all over the park, and I was watching that. I've never actually watched it, and it was actually pretty impressive. So it is something that they're committed to, and they matter too, as much as everybody else does. I understand the budgetary concerns, but if we could help make that not go away, I would like to do that. So I think those are my two big ones. So thank you so much for listening to me, as always. And if no one else has any comments, are we ready to adjourn? Yes? Our meeting is adjourned.
Adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.